Right, whether it's foreplay or during the main event, fingers can be an incredibly intense source of pleasure for a woman if you use them properly. In fact, some women reach climax through finger stimulation alone. Why? Because unlike something rigid or immobile, fingers are flexible. They can bend, vary the pressure, adjust the angle, and switch from one finger to two or three. That makes them remarkably precise tools, easily controlled and individually adaptable. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Amelia Wright, a consultant urologist and men's health specialist with over 25 years of experience. Today, I'm going to show you, step by step, a respectful and medically grounded approach to using your hands in a way that makes the woman you're with feel not only safe and valued, but also experience intense pleasure. Now, to help you understand why this works, let me give you a brief scientific explanation. During sexual arousal, the erectile tissues in a woman's genital area fill with blood, similar to what happens in men. Through targeted rhythmic stimulation of the clitoris, the inner and outer labia, and the anterior vaginal wall, this blood flow intensifies. That leads to heightened sensitivity, stronger lubrication, and ultimately more intense orgasms. Studies show that over 70% of women cite external stimulation, particularly of the clitoris, as the most important factor in reaching climax. That's precisely why your hands are so crucial. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below about one question you've always had about this topic, but never felt comfortable asking. I read every single comment, and your questions help me create better content for all of you. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to Dr. Amelia Wright so you don't miss any more tips on men's health after 60. Right, what are we waiting for? Let's crack on. Now, before a single finger touches a woman's sensitive zones, there are two absolutely essential foundations: consent and preparation. Yes, this might sound obvious to many of you, but in reality, it's often overlooked. Particularly men who've been with their partner for decades sometimes think they don't need to ask anymore. But that's precisely the opposite of what's true. An honest, "Would you like me to touch you here?" isn't a sign of uncertainty, it's a sign of respect. It signals, "I see you, I take your needs seriously." And this attitude creates trust, the very foundation that allows your partner to let go and open up. The next step involves physical preparation. Pay attention to hygiene: thoroughly washed hands, short and smooth nails, no rings or jewelry. Even the smallest scratches or rough edges can injure the delicate mucous membrane. And here's a medically important point. Particularly in older age, the vaginal tissue is often thinner and more sensitive because estrogen production decreases. That's why I absolutely recommend using a water-based, unscented lubricant. It reduces friction, prevents microinjuries, and ensures every touch remains comfortable. Now, onto the actual warm-up. Sexual arousal isn't a light switch that's simply flipped on. It's a process that involves the entire body. So start deliberately away from the genitals: kisses on the neck, gentle touches along the collarbones, soft stroking of the inner arms. All of this slowly awakens the senses. Continue with the lower back, the hips, and the outer thighs. Only when you approach the inner thighs should you slow the pace. Then place your palm carefully over the vulva, initially still over clothing or knickers. Apply light pressure, then release it again. This rhythmic interplay of pressure and release works like waves spreading through the body. Medically, this can be explained. More pressure means more blood flow. The clitoris swells, and the sensitivity of the nerves increases significantly. In short, gentle warm-up isn't a sidestep. It's the crucial foundation for any further intimacy. And here's something I tell my patients all the time. This isn't a race. The longer you spend on this stage, the more responsive she'll become later. Think of it like warming up before exercise. You wouldn't sprint without stretching first, would you? After the warm-up phase has increased blood flow and heightened sensitivity, the next step follows: external stimulation. Many men make the mistake of going too quickly, directly to the clitoral tip. But that's precisely where the sensation is initially far too intense, just like if someone were to press directly on a man's glands with full pressure right away. It's better to build up the touch gradually and initially include the surrounding area. Start with gentle movements along the outer labia. Glide with a fingertip in long, light strokes from top to bottom. Then switch to the inner labia and feel your way forward slowly. Always pay attention to your partner's body language. Deeper breathing, slight hip movements, or small sounds are signals that you're on the right track. When you reach the clitoris, don't start directly on the tip, but around the clitoral hood instead. Picture yourself drawing small circles, figure eights, or oval movements with your fingertip. Vary between feather-light strokes and slightly firmer pressure without ever becoming hectic. Women find particularly consistent, repeatable patterns pleasant, quite the opposite of random or uncoordinated movements. Some proven techniques include gentle circles, like the movement of a clock hand, around the clitoris, vertical movements from the mons pubis to the vaginal entrance and back, and sideways figure-eight patterns that stimulate a larger area. Depending on your partner's preference, you can use 2 fingers side by side to create a broader contact surface, or just the fingertip for precise pressure. And it's important that you keep asking, softer or stronger? Faster or slower? Such brief questions don't feel disruptive. They provide reassurance. From a medical perspective, it's interesting that the clitoris is much larger than what's visible to the naked eye. Its legs extend deep into the body, so that even touches to the labia indirectly stimulate the clitoris. That's why external stimulation alone can be completely sufficient for many women to experience an intense orgasm without any penetration being necessary at all. Now, let me pause here and talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough: common mistakes. Even experienced chaps make these errors. First, being too fast. You're not trying to start a fire, you're building arousal gradually. Second, too much pressure too soon. The clitoris has more nerve endings than any other part of the human body. Treat it gently, especially at first. Third, forgetting the lubricant. Even if she's naturally lubricated, adding more never hurts and prevents any discomfort. Fourth, changing the rhythm when she's getting close. This is crucial. Once you've found what works, keep doing exactly that. And fifth, neglecting the aftercare. What you do after matters just as much as what you do during. If your partner shows she's ready, the next step comes: internal stimulation. But careful, wetness doesn't automatically mean readiness for penetration. Ask clearly, would you like me to insert a finger? This brief check-in creates trust and prevents misunderstandings. Always use sufficient lubricant, because the vaginal mucous membrane is particularly sensitive in older age. Then insert 1 finger slowly at first and pause briefly. This gives the pelvic floor muscles time to relax. Instead of hectic thrusts, use the famous "come here" motion. Curl your finger gently towards the anterior vaginal wall. About 2 to 4 centimeters past the entrance lies the so-called anterior erogenous zone, colloquially known as the G-spot. This tissue feels spongier and becomes even more engorged when aroused. Start with light movements. Only increase pressure if your partner signals this. Most women prefer rhythmic, consistent patterns, not brute force. Your fingers are unbeatable here because they can precisely vary pressure and angle, something a penis alone cannot achieve in quite the same way. Particularly effective is the combination. Whilst 1 finger, or later 2 fingers, stimulate the front wall internally, you can touch the clitoris with your thumb or the other hand. This double stimulation is medically considered one of the most intense possibilities because it addresses multiple nerve pathways simultaneously. If your partner desires more fullness, carefully insert 2 fingers, always in a slightly curved position, so that the fingertips maintain contact with the front wall. But small controlled movements are completely sufficient because the more aroused the tissue, the stronger the sensation. Less is often more here. Then pay attention to the signs of climax. Faster breathing, increased hip pressure, more intense sounds. Important, keep the pattern you've found stable then. Many orgasms are interrupted because men change tempo or technique at the crucial moment. And here's something I want to emphasize, because I've had countless conversations about this in my clinic. It's not always going to work perfectly. And that's absolutely fine. Sometimes she'll be tired, stressed, or simply not in the mood. Sometimes you'll try everything you know and it just won't happen. That's not failure. That's normal human sexuality. What matters is communication, patience, and exploring together. Many older couples tell me their sex life is better now than it was at 30 because they've learned to communicate. They're not trying to perform. They're connecting. Now, let's talk about troubleshooting, because this is where a lot of you need help. If she says it hurts, stop immediately. Check these things. Are your nails properly trimmed? Are you using enough lubricant? Are you being too rough? Is there possibly a medical issue like vaginal atrophy or infection that needs addressing? Don't be embarrassed to suggest she sees her GP if discomfort persists. If there's no response or reaction, try these approaches. Slow down even more and focus on external stimulation only. Ask her directly what feels good. Remember, every woman is different. What worked with previous partners might not work with her. Experiment with different pressures, speeds, and techniques. And give it time. Sometimes arousal builds slowly. If your hand gets tired or starts cramping, change position. Rest your arm against her body for support. Switch hands. Use your other hand to stimulate externally whilst giving your main hand a break. Or take a pause entirely and focus on kissing, touching other areas, and come back to it. There's no rule saying you must continue until completion once you've started. After climax, remain present. Gentle touches on the stomach, hips or hair, as well as a calming embrace, create closeness. This so-called aftercare isn't a luxury, it deepens the emotional bond. Particularly in long-term relationships, that's an invaluable asset. And as you've seen, proper fingering isn't about complicated secret tricks. It's about attention, rhythm, and respect. Many men overlook the fact that women aren't all the same. Some reach their peak almost exclusively through clitoral stimulation. Others enjoy the combination with internal stimulation. What's crucial is that you listen, observe, and ask questions. From a medical perspective, this form of intimacy can even have advantages. It strengthens circulation in the pelvic area, supports the pelvic floor musculature, and promotes trust in a partnership. Particularly for men over 60, it's a way to actively shape closeness and passion, even when other forms of sexuality might be limited due to health changes. And let's be honest, many of us face challenges with erections as we age. That's completely normal. But your hands, they work brilliantly regardless. They can provide pleasure, create intimacy, and make your partner feel desired and satisfied. That's powerful. Please never forget, your hands can become precise and incredibly powerful tools when you use them with patience, sensitivity, and care. This isn't just about technique, it's about connection. It's about showing your partner that her pleasure matters, that you're willing to learn, and that intimacy doesn't diminish with age, it can actually deepen. Right, if you found this video helpful, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you wish you'd known about this topic years ago? Your answers help me create content that truly serves you. And remember, subscribe to Dr. Amelia Wright so you don't miss any more tips on men's health after 60. Turn on notifications so you're alerted the moment a new video goes live. Thanks ever so much for watching. Stay healthy, stay confident, and enjoy your intimacy with renewed energy.